What if the most important protocol in crypto doesn't move tokens at all? What if the real backbone of Web3 is not a blockchain, but a search engine? One that quietly powers billions of queries, and most investors have no idea it exists. That protocol is the graph. And by the end of this video, you will see why it is not just relevant. It is foundational. Let us zoom out and start with where we are in 2025. Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs are now active in both the United States and Europe. Interest rates are falling. Liquidity is back on the table. And institutional capital is no longer just buying blue chips. It is moving into infrastructure. That means blockchains. That means indexing layers. That means the graph. Because when institutions build, they need structure. They need clean, reliable data. And in crypto, data is chaos unless you know where to look. So let us break this down. The graph is not a blockchain. It is an indexing protocol. Think of it like the Google of Web3. Except instead of indexing websites, it indexes blockchain data. It allows developers to build what are called subgraphs, custom APIs that organize, filter, and deliver blockchain data with speed and precision. Without the graph, every project would need to build their own indexing solution, run their own nodes, maintain their own infrastructure, and that slows everything down. With the graph, builders can plug into an open ecosystem and query data instantly. But here's what makes 2025 different. Until recently, most people accessed the graph through its hosted service. It worked, but it was centralized. That is now changing, because the graph's decentralized network is live, and subgraphs are migrating fast. In fact, over 90% of the top used subgraphs are now fully decentralized. This means that when you use a DeFi dashboard, check NFT metadata, or view DAO analytics, you are likely using the graph without even realizing it. And that is the whole point. It is invisible infrastructure, but it is everywhere. Now, here is where it gets more interesting. The graph is not just a tool. It is a marketplace. Indexers process data. Curators identify quality subgraphs. Delegators provide stake. And all of them are paid in GRT, the graph's native token. This is a live economy. And like any economy, incentives matter. The more subgraphs are queried, the more GRT flows through the system. But unlike other tokens that rely on hype, GRT has a utility loop. And that is rare in this market. Let us go deeper. Back in 2020, the graph launched with support only for Ethereum. Fast forward to 2025, it now indexes over 40 different blockchains. Even non-EVM chains like Near and Cosmos are on the roadmap. This means one thing: the graph is becoming chain agnostic. It is not betting on one ecosystem. It is indexing them all. That is strategic. Because as the multi-chain future unfolds, interoperability will not be just about asset transfers. It will be about seamless data access. And the graph is already solving that. But this is the moment most investors are missing. In early 2025, the graph began integrating AI, native query layers. Yes, artificial intelligence. Not in the hype sense. In the actual use case sense. Developers can now build AI agents that interact with the graph to retrieve live blockchain data. Imagine an AI that reads governance proposals, tracks treasury flows, watches token movements, then takes action automatically. That is not a pitch. That is already happening. Early pilots are running with Ocean Protocol and Bittenzer. This is not just a query layer. It is becoming a foundation for autonomous infrastructure. Now let us talk about who is building. Over 10,000 developers now use the graph. That is double the 2023 total. And it is not just raw volume. It is quality. These are the builders behind some of the most dApps in crypto. DeFi aggregators, onchain analytics dashboards, real-world asset platforms. Even stablecoin issuers now use the graph to track reserves and compliance data. Because it is efficient, because it is reliable, because it is open. But the real signal came from outside crypto. In Q1 2025, Google Cloud announced a technical collaboration with the Graph Foundation. The goal? To bring subgraph indexing to enterprise clients. This is a game changer, because it means Fortune 500 companies are beginning to explore public blockchain data, not from the front end, but the back end. And when large enterprises standardize, they choose infrastructure with stability, not speculation. Let us go back to the GRT token. What does it actually do? 3 things. First, staking. Indexers stake GRT to participate in the network and earn query fees. Second, curation. Curators stake GRT to signal which subgraphs are useful, guiding data discovery. Third, governance. GRT holders vote on protocol upgrades, grant allocations, and network economics. This creates a flywheel. More usage leads to more queries. More queries mean more revenue. More revenue means more GRT utility. And in 2025, that flywheel is finally spinning. But let us be honest. There are risks. The graph's network architecture is complex. New developers often need time to understand roles, incentives, and subgraph mechanics. That is a friction point. Latency is another concern. While the graph's decentralized network has improved dramatically, some queries still lag behind centralized APIs. For real, time apps that can be a problem. Then there is governance. While the graph uses a council structure to manage upgrades, some critics argue early investors still hold significant influence. This is common in crypto, but worth monitoring. Still, these are not fatal flaws. They are engineering challenges, and they are being solved. Now let us look at tokenomics. As of 2025, over 90% of GRT's supply is already in circulation. That means dilution risk is mostly behind us. Staking participation is strong. Over 50% of GRT is locked in the protocol. That reduces available supply, and it signals conviction from long-term holders. Compare that to other protocols still flooding the market with emissions. The graph is past that phase. It is entering maturity. Let us zoom out again. What is next on the roadmap? 2 major innovations. First, Substreams. This upgrade allows for real-time data processing using parallel execution. It improves speed. It reduces cost. And it unlocks new use cases like DeFi risk engines and gaming dashboards. Second, Firehose. This standardizes raw data extraction across chains. It makes indexing more efficient and scalable. Together, these upgrades push the graph toward true Web 2 level performance. while staying fully decentralized. But here is the part few are talking about. The graph is becoming indispensable to layer 2s. As Ethereum scales through rollups, data gets more fragmented. L2s like Arbitrum and Optimism need fast, reliable indexing to support their apps. The graph is already filling that gap. And now that most layer 2s are live on mainnet, the demand for cross-chain data access is rising fast. That is not a narrative. That is a utility wave. So what does this all mean for you? If you are an investor, the graph offers an asymmetric bet on critical infrastructure. Its market cap remains mid-tier, but its usage is top-tier. If crypto continues moving toward institutional adoption, the graph stands to benefit more than most. Because it is not optional. It is required. If you are a builder, the graph removes friction. You do not need to run your own nodes. You do not need to manage your own indexing stacks. You just deploy a subgraph, query what you need, and build faster. If you are an enterprise, the graph is your bridge to on-chain data without touching custody or compliance risk. It is clean. It is queryable. It is open. And if you are in AI, the graph is the source layer. It connects autonomous agents to live on-chain events. And as AI, native crypto apps rise, data access becomes the differentiator. Let us say it clearly. The graph is not hype. It is not trying to be the next Solana. It is not a meme. It is infrastructure. And infrastructure wins. So if you are here for the long term, if you care about utility, not noise, if you follow the smart money, then the graph deserves your attention. And maybe your allocation. Hit like if this helped clarify things. Subscribe for deeper dives. And if you made it this far, comment, index. That tells us you are one of the few who see what others miss. This is Crypto Wayfarer. We decode. We simplify. We follow the signal. And we always stay early. We will see you in the next one.